are now recording locally.
Cool. You should go live, but with the countdown. And I'm going to tweet that we're about to go live. Yeah.
They can still hear us. Keep that in mind.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just mute myself.
Thank you very much, Connor. Welcome back. And as we were saying before the break, Connor's just about to show us how he cooks his amazing corn muffins. So, Connor, thank you as always for coming on my daytime talk show. I'm glad to have you here. How
But
have
they
you
can
been?
hear you typing too, right?
They almost certainly could hear me typing, and
Yeah, that whole time.
that the start scene was in fact a, um, or that the we'll be starting soon was entirely smoke and mirrors.
You have mirrors? Wow. We're coming right along, huh?
Yeah, that's what happens when you make more better game stuff for 5 years.
Is it 5 years now?
I don't know. No, July.
In July 20th, it will be 5 years. I already knew.
I honestly didn't.
Well, now you know. And I was going to say something, but then Hasbro might sue us. And we don't want that. It was about the battle and how much of it is knowing. But
Yeah, and we can't. We like Hasbro; they're good people, so we'll stay with them. Uh, but seriously, everybody who's watching, this is not a daytime talk show for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the evening, and second of all, Connor is not going to show us how to make delicious corn muffins.
I
Instead,
would I wouldn't do that.
instead, he's going to
It's not on brand for me.
let us know about the um, what was I going to say? The giveaway. Are we going to start by announcing that?
Yeah, we might as well. Sorry, I just had a weird alert come up on my page as it was happening. I don't know why I'm bringing this over here. So we're going to do a giveaway. We'll do a couple of these this evening, one about halfway through, and we'll be talking about this if people come in later. But one of the things we have done at conventions over the years, but we haven't had on our website, has been these potion dice, these test tubes full of tiny, tiny dice. We got them in all colors. Like I said, we had these as a convention exclusive. We hadn't been doing them on our shop, but we are now going to be selling them on our website. So tonight, a couple of people will win a set of these, and they will be able to pick their color, any color or rainbow. So we will cover that, and also a genuine, it is official that Gemhammer says pronounces it genuine. A genuine Gemhammer deck of many things. So a couple people will win those over the course of the evening, but that'll come in a little later.
And
While
while
we
you're
talk
in the
about
chat, using the thing to be eligible for the giveaways. Make note that Connor and I are both on that chat right now. We can hear you and see you. We can't hear you. You can hear us, but we can see you when you type. So if there are any questions about what we're talking about today, or things you want to know about Gemhammer in general, feel free to pop those over there. And like I said, we'll be able to see them. So
I see some people exclamation grimoire. Yes, and to join that giveaway, just type exclamation point grimoire in the chat. Because of course we're here tonight primarily to talk about our grimoire, which is soon to come out. The PDF was released for backers via Backer Kit. It was not as polished as we wanted it to be, but they will be getting an updated version of that very soon.
And that updated version is exactly the one that's going to go off to print at the end of the week, or I guess when we finish it. With one exception, that you can't click on the table of contents in the paper version and be brought to the page. You actually have to look for the page.
No, you can't do that. Well, you can tap on the table of contents and then turn the pages to the right page.
Ooh,
it's not really the same thing, but
it is recommended that you do that.
Yeah, just in fact, you can skip clicking and just go right to the page that's on.
You're a madman, Connor, as always.
I play fast and loose with the rules.
And we've also got something exciting to share with you in just a little bit. But first thing I have here on our sort of agenda is to be excited about our 5th anniversary.
That's right. It's 5 years. Maybe we want to tell them the secret origins of Gemhammer.
Ooh.
Of course, we at Gemhammer, we have been maintaining 2 parallel versions of Gemhammer. There is the Gemhammer, the company proper, Joe and I running Gemhammer and Sons Gaming. But then there is also, of course, the Gemhammer that exists in our game world, as operated by the sons of Gurren Gemhammer, magical wizard extraordinaire. But we haven't really ever explained how those intersect or if they intersect. We are super inconsistent about that, and that's not going to change. So
not even a little bit.
So when I say the origins, I don't mean the lore, our world of Arden, Gurren Gemhammer, magical wizard, and a foundry. I mean like Joe and I drinking on my back porch, trying to invent the name Gemhammer. We had decided we wanted to be doing this content. We're putting together what was originally going to be a podcast, and we had all this content, and we were like, well, we'd like to start making some of this stuff as an aside to that. What are we going to call ourselves? What's it all going to be? And I don't even remember the website. I think it was like a fantasy name generator. And by the way, we were like a case of beer in at this point. So nothing each. Yeah. So we're like on my back porch, and I'm like, Silverstone. No, that's dumb. All right. And Gemhammer wasn't even one of the names from the generator. It just like this generator was so bad. All it did was generate like the most dwarf sounding names. Everything was Stoneforge, Silverhammer, and like so on and so forth. So
there was one I remember that was just pickaxe, as though that wasn't already a thing in the world.
Welcome to the town of Pickaxe.
So it's Connor reading off this list of just like mining terms connected together as though they were names. And I am like desperately Googling them to see if there's already like, can we get that URL
Forge
or what have you? And I think at a certain point and after a certain number of beverages, it just came to be we were making up our own lists of mining terms.
We just was like, we're like, all right, let's just break down how dwarfs name things. So it's earthy, stony mining word, earthy, stony mining word, and we put them together. Ta-da! Now you get a thing, and that's how you get a Gemhammer.
Right, and that's where Gemhammer came from. The podcast obviously never materialized.
There is a very old podcast on our website.
Does
That is
that count
not.
as very old?
I mean, in terms of the lifetime of the company, there was a brief. I think there's like 6 episodes or something that we ran after the Deck of Many Things Kickstarter, where we were talking about our home game with the Dudes, Guys, Dragons, and some of the stuff that we were working on behind the scenes. We stopped doing that because we couldn't maintain a podcast and make game content at the same time, because it's almost like doing a podcast as a full-time job hobby type situation, and also developing game content is the same thing. So trying to do both just proved to be impossible.
And this was certainly, I don't know if Twitch existed at this point, but it certainly wasn't as popular as it is now.
Yeah, I mean, that was back. It was like the Wild West of podcasts at that point. Like, it was like all RSS feeds. I don't remember Twitch being a thing.
Right. If you wanted to listen to a podcast, you sort of had to download it and listen to it in Windows Media Player. So the idea of us doing like a live stream, first of all, I don't think the technical capability were there. Right. It might have been possible.
No, we were recording on a laptop with a mixer and microphones. And then you were editing it after the fact. So there wasn't really a live stream.
Right. But we couldn't even have done a live stream, which, people expect to be less polished, less off the cuff. We could go on tangents that don't connect up to anything. That couldn't happen, right? There was no place for that in the gaming medium because, we didn't have the kind of technology that would facilitate. Like, I remember we talked about doing it as a YouTube series.
Yes.
Where it was like sort of you and me between two ferns. But that, and we didn't have place in your house, and
there was no place to do it, so that just never happened. But we landed here, and that's great. But so even well before that podcast that lives on our website, and you can go check it out if you want. It's not good.
It's also on YouTube.
Is it? It is. Okay. It's also on YouTube. Before even that one, we were playing a game in our house, and this was kind of like before Let's Plays with D&D became a big thing. It's funny, we kind of like stumbled onto what later became like a popular thing. We were playing a game and recording it, and our intent was to either make it like a YouTube series or like an animated shorts. And what led to that falling apart was our animator just couldn't keep up with what we were doing, and she backed out. And so we were like, well, we've developed all this content, now what do we do? And somehow we thought that the easiest thing to start with would be the Deck of Many Things, and somehow that turned into game decks being primarily what we worked on. And as we focused more and more on that, Joe and I were talking about this the other day. I stumbled across an old document. There's like 12 adventures in a document, mostly written for 3rd edition, 3.5, that have just been forgotten about because we were developing all this stuff, and then we're like, oh, well, we'll focus on the game cards. And it just became all about making the game cards, and that's all we did for the next 4 years.
You know what just hit me about the timing of all this is during the heyday of D&D 4.
Yes. This was
D&D
us refusing
Next
to play D&D 4.
Might have been in playtest. Remember
that
D&D
summer,
Next?
I do remember D&D Next, and what a great name that was. I remember the playtest being super cool and reading through those documents and being like, oh, like this weapon has like a bloodying effect, and this is really cool, and there's some real cool mechanics happening here. And then none of that made it into the final game, and I'm like, all of these weapons seem very mundane. There's like nothing that bridges the gap between just a bunch of stuff you can find in a shed and powerful magical artifacts. And since it only goes to +3, it's a pretty big gap. +1 does not actually fill that hole. Like, I mean, I guess you get what are they? The not Vorpal. There's the weapons that are like, oh, if you crit, you do more damage.
Oh yeah, they've got a name. Yep, they do. They have a name.
And I've never used one of the games, so much so that I've completely forgotten about it. I'm going to look at the SRD.
It's just gone for me. So we
I'm
did
not going to
the
look at this is not compelling content. I'm not going to do that at
no,
all.
not at all. So we did the Deck of Many Things Kickstarter, and in that Kickstarter was the Deck of Wonder. I don't remember how that came to be.
So the Deck of Wonder, I remember we were talking about the Deck of Many Things, and we actually made the Deck of Wonder before we made the Deck of Many Things. I was like, hey, the deck of the Rod of Wonders seems super limiting. You know, you have all these different classes, all these different ways that wild, crazy, random magic happens, but it all seems super boring. Like half the time it's you cast a very low level spell or like something happens, but it's not really funny or interesting.
I
It's just that
remember
like
you weren't in the game at this point
no, I
with
want
the Dudes, Guys, and Dragons, but I think um, Jecht had a Rod of Wonder. It might have been Forge who had one, and it's the one in that just comes with 3.5 was so underwhelming that we found one that had 10,000 effects in it just for free online. And the reason it was free online is because you get what you paid for,
right.
right? So like everything from 5,000 and 2 to 5,102 was it deals 1 fire damage, it deals 2 fire damage, and the idea of like something magical and wondrous that no one will expect or see coming happens,
Do
and
I have a Deck of Wonder here? I
it's
should,
just like
but I
you
simply don't.
deals 5 damage seems so mundane. It did not feel like a super cool magic item. Uh, it,
Yeah, I remember we were talking about that at your house, and I remember we like sat there with a pad of paper and we broke down good, bad, indifferent,
mhm.
the percentages of what a Rod of Wonder does in third edition. And then from there, we kind of reverse engineered. Okay, what percentage of things need to be good? What percentage need to be bad? And what is just a thing that happens but is more or less benign? And then we just started coming up with totally ridiculous things that happen.
Yeah,
And then a
it's so
deck of
weird
cards a
that
couple weeks later.
the Deck of Wonder is where the sort of Gemhammer brand of like it's a little bit goofy, it's a little bit wacky came from, right? Because there's nothing goofy or wacky in the Deck of Many Things, right? Which is
No.
the first product we launched as a Kickstarter.
Mhm.
But like we're gonna go through the grimoire in a little bit, but I don't think there's a page in the grimoire that doesn't have a joke in it somewhere.
Right. And they're not all great. They're not all winners.
Oh
But
no, some of them are really bad. Those are the ones
some
I
of
wrote.
them, we broke some of our own rules. We put inside jokes in the grimoire that well, like one person gets. But you know what? That's okay.
But that
Because
person
that's a
pre-ordered
thing.
it, so they
Immediately after seeing that.
so it is quite good business mind,
It's just good business, Jack.
which is like that's what Gurn's up to, right? Or Jurin? I don't actually know how to pronounce Gemhammer's name.
It's Gurren.
It's Gurren,
Yeah.
canonical. Put
It is
that down.
now because I said so.
Excellent. Gurren Gemhammer, both G's, so everybody's happy. Um, Gurren is very shrewd businessman as well. His son Huron has taken that off him. Um, and then
And
it was
Theron is just a mess.
yeah, and then there was the Kickstarter. It did tremendously well. It was at the time the first Deck of Many Things to have spell effect right on the card. Uh, it continues to
Was
be.
the only deck of many things you could buy. They actually no, there was one a few years before, but it was like an art project,
Yeah,
and they weren't still selling them. They only ever made the one run of it. It seemed like the guy wanted one. It was like, hey, I could do a Kickstarter, and then abandon the project after
right.
it was completed.
Which is why we still sell the art deck. Because there are people who just want to have
Do have
that
one of
sort of
those.
experience of drawing from the deck, and because your character doesn't know what the Talons does when they draw it,
Right.
so why would you? But from a very early idea, coming from the Deck of Many Things and the Deck of Wonder, it seemed like there was an idea that was coming up that was,
That doesn't work at
let's.
all.
Ooh,
Wow.
that's very nice. That's worse.
Trying to not. It's just reflective.
So there was this idea that what can we do that makes things better for players, right? What will make it better for DMs and GMs? We don't want to, there were a bunch of people making stuff that would nowadays just live on the DM guild, but we were sort of fighting in that same space because the DM guild hadn't collected all of them and put them into a small box.
Yeah, Drive Through RPG was around, which is basically what the DM's Guild is anyway. It's just an offshoot of that. But that kind of home didn't exist. And it was kind of a weird time because 4th edition had just ended. And 4th edition, it was really hard to make content for it. It was something we explored. We were like, well, we can do the OGL, but like D20 is kind of like dead right now. We can start developing for 4th edition. But 4th edition, it wasn't an open gaming license. We actually needed a license. And then we had to buy all the 4th edition books so we could cross-reference the system reference document with all of the books to be able to make anything. And that seemed like a tremendous amount of work to simply understand what it was I could and could not use.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with 4th edition, and I think a lot of them are overblown. But one of the big ones is that Wizards did not make it easy for third parties to make supplements for that system. And they have done a much, much better job with 5th edition, giving guys like us the tools we need to get out more better game stuff to you. And then from there, the successful Kickstarter, and we did our first convention, which I'll tell that story, but you're going to have to buy me a few beers first.
Let's never talk of it again.
And then our second convention, you remember that one? At the Shriners Auditorium.
Oh my God, it was awful.
Yeah.
And we were sitting, I remember, that's a good story or the good thing to talk about, because when we had that terrible second convention, we were like, okay, we can't do these small things. This is a waste of our time and money. What are we doing? So what we wound up doing was messaging PAX and being like, they'll never take us, right? Like, but let's just send them the email to see what happens.
Yeah, and for the price of an email.
Right, for the price of an email, why not? So we're sitting in a Shriners Auditorium, we send him an email, and like the next day or something, we got an email like, oh, you're the Deck of Many Things guys. Sure, here's the information. It's in March in Boston. Well, it turned out better than expected. All right. And
yeah, just to talk very briefly about the Shriners Auditorium, this was a Comic-Con. So there were like a bunch of different comic stores around.
Northeast Comic-Con, I believe they called it.
It might have been New England Comic-Con.
New England Comic-Con? I don't know.
NECC.
This was not like this was not a New York Comic-Con situation. This wasn't like Reed Pop or one of the bigger companies putting on a Comic-Con in a major city. This was like some guy called it Comic-Con and like paid the Shriners to let them use what they would normally have roller derbies in.
Yeah, Shriners Auditorium, for those of you who aren't around Greater Woburn,
Boston?
Yeah, sure, Boston.
Yeah.
Is like a particularly large high school gym not attached to a high school.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. But it hasn't been updated or anything fixed in it since I was a small child. So like there's folding chairs and tables everywhere, but they may have been pulled from the trash, and all the bleachers look like they're in various states of disrepair. So
and the person next to us was selling like literal trinkets made out of like oh man, they sold these in the 90s. They're little beads and you melted them together. You remember these?
Yes, yeah. So they were supposed to be like pixel art, but they were like little beads that you put in the oven and like melt together. And that's what they were selling. And the people across from us were selling modded Nerf guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're like Nerf guns that they're like, yeah, it's kind of like a Halo weapon. It doesn't look like anything like a Halo weapon. Yeah, but it's like that.
And I mean, that stuff's super cool, just not us, right? Not who we are.
Right.
That's not where we needed to be. We need to be at PAX, where we'd be next to, Wormwood and Level Up and, those sort of people in that sphere, as opposed to people who are coming here to buy their pop culture trinkets and their comic books. And that's how we got into PAX. And it really exploded after PAX. After PAX, it was like, okay, we made this amount of money doing this thing. and the only things we had were from that first Kickstarter. So that's the deck of many
Yep. It was
things.
just a lot of leftover stuff at that point.
Yeah,
It was like all the stock we had remaining because we were also doing online sales at that point. So after that, we kind of realized that like that's kind of the nature of our business is doing these Kickstarters and then doing these shows that we sell the product. Um, of course, now we live in a world where a lot of the shows that we would have been doing this year aren't happening, or it's unclear if they're happening. Um, some of the shows we were planning to go to, they have not been canceled. We hope to see you all there, but many others happening right around the same time have been canceled. So who knows? We don't, which is kind of a problem for us because every show that we don't go to, even though we get the money back from that show, that's income lost.
yeah,
If we did, if we did like 10 grand on a show or something, that's 10 grand we don't have. We have the stock still and we can still sell it. But if we were planning on having it, in hand for this month, now we don't. So COVID has kind of been pretty bad for us. It's been bad for everyone, of course. I'm not trying to say that us particularly, but it's affecting us in ways we hadn't even really considered at first.
right. And
Because
it shows really how susceptible a business model of do a big Kickstarter, spend all of that money to make stock, and then sell that at shows. It
yeah,
shows how fragile that idea is because
you miss one show and the whole thing starts to fall apart from there.
right. If one of us gets sick the day before PAX Unplugged, what do we do? If PAX decides that we don't want any tabletop guys at East and South and West, you guys all show up at Unplugged. That's at least a big show like so close to us in Boston that we just don't get to go to, which I
Mhm.
think is a great jumping off point to the next thing we want to talk about. Right?
Was that you gesturing to me to pick that up and run with it? Or
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I was kind of bringing this. And the reason we wanted to kind of talk about where we started and where we're going, and it's our anniversary and everything, is we've kind of been looking at this. We've been doing this 5 years now. And this is not our full-time job, and you got to understand that when you look at the table of contents in the grimoire, 75-80% of what's happening with Gemhammer is Joe and I. My wife Katie, she helps out with a lot of stuff. She takes care of most of the online orders, all that kind of stuff back at the house. She's responsible for that. Our booth setup, if you've ever seen that, that it's a very family business. My father-in-law helped us build all that stuff. If you guys have ever seen the curio cabinets and the shelves and the wooden crates that we have at shows, all that was built here at my house. Like we didn't have someone like build out a booth for us. So it's very much us, just the two of us and our families helping us to do this thing that's a labor of love. And we're kind of at a point where it's been 5 years. What's keeping this from being our regular jobs? And there's a couple of things really. We just haven't expanded, and part of that is on us. Like we have over the years, I think we've gotten so comfortable with it just being us, since Joe and I have known each other for so long, that I feel like I'm going to have a conversation with him and say, I want you to work on this, or he'll say, can you get this done? And we'll get it to the satisfaction of one another.
Mhm.
He'll say, write this thing, and I'll write it, and it's the way he wanted me to. Or if there's any changes, he'll just tell me, and it's done like while we're on the phone with each other. As we bring in more people, and we'll talk about that in a minute, we are not necessarily the best at adapting to that new situation where there's like suddenly new people in what has been a very close knit, just the two of us arrangement. Like this kind of creative process has existed between two people. Now, as we grow, and we are at a point where we need to grow, we have the ability to grow, but we need to start making those moves. But we need to let other people in. But also, we run into the situation where if we aren't doing these shows, it is harder and harder for us to bring people in effectively, because as well as we've been doing, like I don't take a paycheck from Gemhammer. And neither does Joe. We go out of our way to avoid taking a paycheck, and we never have. We have paid all our artists, we've paid our writers, we have even a couple of writers and artists that didn't work out. We offered to pay them for their time, whether they took it or not, irrelevant. But he and I have never taken money from Gemhammer, and that's something that it's an investment we want to make because we want to see this succeed and we want to see it grow. But as we get into that kind of mentality of this is a business and we need to grow this business and turn it into our full-time job, so we can very seriously be making more better game stuff, where my 9 to 5, Joe's 9 to 5 is us developing this content that you all seem to love. We need to start opening up different avenues. We need to bring in more people. We need to be doing slightly different stuff than the way we need to be doing things differently than the way we've been doing it. And we've actually got a good group of people who want to help us, who want to come on board, and we've had them do a little bit of side work here and there. Abigail, who has done some of the art in the Grimoire, and Beth, who has done some art for us in the past. They're great examples, but we've got 6 artists and 6 writers who are helping us with a few projects right now. And some of those projects, like we haven't talked about any of them really. Right. They're just kind of like in the background. We're working on this idea, and ultimately we need the community's help to kind of make that a reality, to kind of bring this to the next step, where like we need everyone's support to kind of jump into this new endeavor and start bringing in more people and start putting out monthly content. We used to do weekly, monthly content all the time. We haven't been doing that for about a year. And I remember when that was going on, we had a lot more community interaction. We had a lot more people interacting with us, like calling us up, not calling us, sending us emails, like, hey, this was really cool, but maybe do this. And it's a lot of cool stuff happening during that time. But a big part of why it ended was it's just me and Joe, and with these Kickstarters and these bigger projects, like if I'm putting on if I'm getting us ready to go to a convention and also editing a book and also doing most of the artwork in that book, and Joe is doing the other half of the content in that book, and also picking up all the leather bags that are part of the Kickstarter and so on and so forth, like it just turns into a situation where we can't do more stuff. For example, I was talking about, I found this document with a bunch of abandoned adventures. Those are cool products that we'd love to share with you. We need to finish them. If It's just Joe and I, there's no way that works. So we're announcing tonight, and sorry if we kind of like circled around it way too much. I will talk at great length if allowed, and for some reason Joe's not stopping me.
Not even a little bit.
Not even. So tonight we wanted to announce our new project. For the first time, we're going to be launching something not on Kickstarter, although it is going to be crowdfunded. I don't know if there's like a transition that's going to happen, or I'm just going to keep talking until the screen changes. There we go. We are launching Theron's Guide to Arden. And what is Theron's Guide? Theron's Guide is going to be a monthly periodical. It's how big it is and what's in it will depend on how many goals we hit over time. It is on Patreon, and it is live now. All the features, this is a soft launch, mind you, not all the features have been built out yet. What we want to do is kind of bring people into our world. We've been kind of peppering in this little bits of lore that is fun or funny or interesting, but we actually do have like a world in mind, and we've been developing the ideas of what's in this world over the last 5 years, and people have kind of seen bits of that and had talked to us about it, like, well, what's going on with that? You guys putting out a campaign setting? And for the longest time we said our forthcoming campaign setting, but we just haven't got there. Right. So this is kind of how we want to address that content. This is how we want to release it. It will be a way for us to kind of get more of our community involved with what we're doing on the back end and kind of say, hey, what do you like? What do you don't like? What would you like to see more from us? It's going to allow us to interact with you all directly. It's going to allow us to produce more content over time. And rather than me hold on to a project for a year and then you see it at the end of the year, I can put out pieces of it. Theron's Guide to Arden, and this one's about barbarians. Theron's Guide to Arden, and this one's about all the gods in our world. This is about fighters in our world. This one's about gem magic in our world and all the things attached to that.
Right. So
Feats, spells, magic items.
yeah. So instead of a campaign setting that is, we know the campaign settings that are available for fifth edition. They're 300-page books with sort of everything. That is going to take a lot of time, effort, and energy. That is frankly something we would need to just we would need to kickstart that to make that economically viable for us.
Mhm.
But we don't think that is the only way to deliver that information to you. And we're going to try Theron's Guide, and we're going to try Patreon, um, specifically as a way for you guys to sort of buy this content. Is a real gross economic word, but also to support the making of it, right? We could spend the next 8 months, uh, paying artists and paying writers to produce all this content so that come, I don't even know when 8 months from now is, February. So that come February, a Kickstarter can be launched with that information.
Joe,
And
I've
then
been basically living on this porch for the last 3 months. As far as I'm concerned, it's March 12th.
yeah, it's been March 15th for quite a while here at the current household as well. So as a way for you guys to get the content more consistently throughout, as well as to help fund us working with other writers and artists like Connor was talking about. So let's just go through what the Patreon has,
Mhm.
so that we can go. Let's start with the tiers. And here you can see the first tier is Wonderful Internet Patron. At $1, we're gonna have two big things for you. There's the Gemhammer Discord. That is not up yet, Connor? Question mark?
It is kind of it's a work in progress. We have someone working on it. We wanted to make this announcement when we went over to the Grimoire, so it is not quite ready. We do have someone working on the back end. It should be up by the end of the month.
Yep.
But if you were to join, there is a single chat page for you to land into and interact with each other were you so inclined.
Also, we are going to commit to putting on Patreon rather, some of the sneak peeks of the upcoming projects. Right, we buy this art and we make these rules, and you only get to see it all at once. Right, at the $1 level and all of the levels, sneak preview. You'll get all of these with all of the levels. You'll always get the stuff from the lower levels when you increase your fund or your pledge. So we're gonna give you that stuff, right? If we write 10 cool combat feats that we think will be really good, that belong in some other product later, there's no reason why we can't get it out to you guys, so that first of all you can give us some feedback on them, right? This seems too powerful, this seems too weak, that kind of stuff is going to be helpful to us, but also so that you can introduce them to your games as quick as possible. Also, on the Gemhammer website, we're going to have a big page where everyone who's helping us make this more better game stuff will get the recognition they need. And when I talk about the Gemhammer Discord, I know we talked about a bunch of different features that Connor and I wanted. The big ones that make the most sense to me are it's just a place for this community to come together, right? A lot of times this seems like a very like V community, right? Like these people come and talk to Connor and I, and then we talk to those people. This is a place where
weird. We hit a weird kind of spectrum of people people that just want to have fun and are like, this stuff is so wacky and goofy, and then we have other people that are like coming over to us and trying to like break down the number of dice and what that averages out to, and it's weird how big a gap that is. Like there's no one in the middle who's just like, hey, this is really interesting and it seemed pretty balanced, but man, do I enjoy how funny this is. There's nobody there, not
right.
a one. They're either over here or over there,
and maybe it's that those people do exist but they don't feel
interact
like
with us.
they're connected to this community enough to talk to us about that. So hopefully this Gemhammer Discord will make perfect sense. We're going to try to make that as awesome a place as possible, but
some of the ideas that we had for it, we'd like a ongoing choose your own adventure storyline might be happening in there that people have a poll that the community will get to vote on, like what happens, and maybe some of that will kind of drift into the content we create, and so maybe there's this threaded storyline that you guys will be interacting with, stuff that we specifically want to play test, but not like specifically because we'll get to play testing, but just like little things like there's a like a single magic item or something we might put out to you guys, and so there'll be a feed of Discord exclusive Patreon items that kind of land in there. Mm-hmm. Maybe some chat rooms, so that if our Patreon, I'm falling apart. If our patrons in our Discord wanted to play a game, there will be some voice channels in there for people to do that. And so those are some of the features we're thinking about, planning on putting in.
And of course, you as a community are going to tell us what you want out of that Patreon, out of that Discord, rather, right? If it makes
too many names of too many apps are happening, yeah. We're fumbling.
Absolutely fumbling.
It's fine.
If the Discord, if it makes sense that let's have a discussion page over, Kingdom of Owlbears, one of our published adventures that are already out there, and tips and tricks where people who have GM'd Kingdom of Owlbears can talk to each other, right? That's not something that necessarily we'd think would be useful, but something definitely that if the community thinks it's good.
I think that's a great example because we released Lost Lore about a month ago for Kingdom of Owlbears, because there's actually a whole magic item missing from that book. Mm-hmm. That we had no idea. So that's something that we put out for free, and second edition of Kingdom of Owlbears. But we didn't know that until someone had let us know that was the case. And what it was is that the block that magic item lives in just got unlinked in the InDesign file, and so should have been in there, just wasn't. So, like, when we have this community, this channel that people can be talking, and like maybe that's something that'll come out of the weeds much sooner. They'll figure it out and go, hey, do you guys know what this is? Does anyone know what that is? And we'll see that and go, oh, hey, that's wrong. Let us fix that for you.
Right.
Thank you for letting us know. And that's
all that, the Discord, the work in progress files, and the and your name, whatever you want that name to be, within reason, people, linked on our website. All of that is just for $1 when you upgrade from becoming a wonderful internet person to a wonderful internet patron. At $5, now we're talking about a +1 wonderful internet patron. So at $5, not only are you going to get these, but we will also do the digital releases. We talked a little bit about Arden's Guide, but we will talk about more on what this sort of digital release structure is when we talk about our goals with Patreon, and we will get to that. But for $1, for $5 rather, not only do you get all the $1 perks, but also all of the digital content that is going to be made that is intended to be patron exclusive. Anything on that, Connor?
Nope.
All right. So down at silver level, a Vorpal wonderful internet patron. We're talking critical successes. Not only is it going to be, will you get the Discord, your name on there, the in-progress works, and the digital files. Also, any printed files of the Patreon exclusive. We talked about Arden's Guide for a little bit. What makes sense to us is to annually release here's 12 months worth of Theron's Guide, right?
Theron's Guide to Arden Annual Volume 1, Volume 2,
etc. Or what have you. I would say that it'd probably be funnier if we skipped some and it was volume 2001 or whatever. But we will talk about whether that joke is worth it later. Let us
when
know.
We have people showing up to us at PAX Unplugged going, where do we get the volumes that are missing in between these? Come on, man. Have you met us?
Yeah. You know what? We'll ask on Discord whether that joke is worth the hassle. And we'll see how people feel about it. So if those end up being physical printed things, really anything that doesn't need to be kickstarted, if it ends up getting printed, we're talking about adventures, we're talking about published versions of the digital content that we're releasing. For just $10 a month, we will send you all of that stuff every single time it's printed. Um, Unfortunately, we don't know how big this Patreon idea is going to be, so we don't really yet know what how often that stuff is going to be published. But we can't promise that it'll be at least one thing a year, but we can commit to doing our very best. The goal is definitely to move into more publishing books like The Tomb of Wonder and The Kingdom of Owlbears and the Grimoire, which we're going to talk about soon. Um,
And if, by the way, chat, if any of you have any questions, just feel free to, like we're watching the chat, like feel free to throw your hand up, say, hey, what about this thing? I know we're dumping a lot of info on you, but feel free to interrupt us to ask questions, especially when we get to the Grimoire, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
Soon.
And the highest tier is the wonderful playtesting patron. That is $30 a month. This is for people who really enjoy what we're doing and want to sort of be on that sort of highest level of access, which is all the lower perks. You're talking the Discord, you're talking the in progress, you're talking the digital stuff, your name on the website, any printed stuff, as well as first access to any of the stuff that Gemhammer is going to produce. And the first stuff meaning playtesting access. So jumping on
PDFs of adventures, but without pictures or background images and things like that. It's just here's the copy.
Right. Here's the words, and there's probably spelling mistakes, and none of the jokes are in there yet.
Oh, I guarantee there'll be spelling mistakes.
None of the that sort of content is going to be in here. It is mostly just you play this with your guys, play this with your group at your table, and tell us how it went. Also, the idea of jumping on Roll20 with Connor and I to, it's really useful to us as game designers to see if I just give you this block of text, how do you interpret it? How do you think this block of text tells you to play this magic item, this spell effect, this monster?
And in the and we'll show you guys this when we get to the Grimoire, but there was a part in the Grimoire that said lava breathing. Now, in my head, obviously I meant the ability to breathe lava like water breathing. Like I can breathe the water while I'm swimming under the sea. I can breathe lava while I'm completely submerged in lava.
It also gave you fire resistance, don't worry.
Yeah. You were immune to fire damage. So you can swim through lava and breathe it, was what this thing did. And I got from one of our editors, it came back and they're like, you really need to put some stats in here. Like, how does the lava breath work?
As though it were fire breathing.
Right, exactly. And for the life of me, I dug through this page for like 20 minutes. Like, where did they see this? Nothing gives them the ability to breathe lava. And then I saw lava breathing. I was like, wow, I'm an idiot. Okay. All right. I know how we got here. But
that's the kind of stuff that when like Connor and I are so deep in this grimoire right now, for instance, give you an example of our process, that there is a typo, an on that should have been an in, or an in that should have been an on, from how many different documents has that thing been in? How many times has it passed our eyes? And it still ended up in the copy that went out to backers on Wednesday.
There's an item that in the version that went out to backers said about instead of above, in like if at certain level above level whatever the spell it was, and it says about.
Yeah, when it's around level 3, give or take.
About higher level, yeah, on average. And people are like, what does that mean? And I'm like, oh God.
So that's the kind of stuff that a wonderful playtesting patron would have access to. They get to be part of that creative process. They get to be a valuable resource for us. And
if you don't want to, if you just want stuff early, that's fine too. You don't have to like help us out with that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do what you want with the stuff we send you.
If you just want to take that document and go, haha, this is going to be a hardcover book in 4 months. I have it before anyone else. Absolutely be our guest. Which gets us to our goals. Obviously, all of these tell you what you individually get. The goals tell you what the community is going to end up out of this. And our first goal is $1 a month.
Yep.
You right now, you watching there, can unlock this goal all by yourself. I promise it's in your budget. I'd buy that for $1. Once we get $1 a month in,
It's a great reference.
it is $1 a month. Essentially, once we have any patrons of any variety, we're going to get you a custom character sheet for you to use in your home games. This is for 5th edition ?
Yes.
It is
Yes, it is a 5th edition character sheet.
Yep. So this is just a new
Just
stylistic.
FYI, you and I are having that mic issue again.
You're having that mic issue. I'm having that mic issue.
No, it's fixed. You're fine.
Excellent. Sorry about that. So for $1, your own 5th edition character sheet. It is designed to be aesthetically pleasing and to sort of fit into the way the Gemhammer art style works. Perfect if you're going to be pulling out the
I
the compendium of wild beasts or whatever.
So show it. Oh well.
What? Yeah, is there a way for us to see it?
I mean, I can send it to you and we can show it to them later.
Yeah. We'll send it to me and then we'll try to figure it out.
Yeah.
We've
been doing this for an hour, so let's get through this so we can show people what they're really here to see.
Yeah. So
and also do a giveaway.
Yeah, at $50, we're talking fresh content every week. So just like we used to do, we're talking Wizardry Wednesdays, new spells, Warfare Wednesdays, maybe with martial things. Really, once we get $50, you're talking about getting something from us every week. And that is, that sort of board better game stuff. It's not going to be the highly polished stuff that would come out of a book. I know that many of the Wizardry Wednesday spells that made it into the Grimoire have been edited, some of them quite heavily.
Others were just deleted. In fact, I have a page open right now called Junk Spells, which is where all the spells that from Wizardry Wednesdays that we were like, nope. And that's where they left.
Yeah,
that's bad. A couple of them aren't bad. Some of them, they're not all bad. Some of them are just like
not interesting.
Not interesting, or like Snake Eyes was one that it was like, we have no idea how to make that work, and it's balanced. So we just like walked away from it.
But that said, these are absolutely spells that you as a master of your game can decide that, a monster might have, or, with some, we take no responsibility for what it does to your game. Can you let your PCs use it? It is definitely.
But we sell decks of many things, so we never take responsibility for what happens in your game. It's that's pretty on brand for us.
That is a legal disclaimer. I am not your lawyer. So $50, you're going to get something. At the $100 mark, we're going to make Side Quest Saturdays. Those are coming back. So Side Quest Saturdays, for those of you who are unfamiliar, are little story hooks, little ideas, right? The perfect example is I had to work late and I didn't have time to prep for this session, but they need to do something. Oh, there's an old fisherman who has lost his daughter and he needs certain help, and it's not important to the plot, but it'll help you out. This is a place where random encounters happen.
These are written filler episode. Right. For D&D.
In fact, I don't know that the first one that we produce once we hit 100 is going to be called the bottle episode, but I know the first one that I write is going to be the bottle episode. And don't worry about losing out on like Wizardry Wednesdays or Warfare. There will be definite rules for this. I know Side Quest Saturdays back when they used to be free and we used to do them. There are many magic items that have made their way into the Grimoire. There were a spell or two that made itself, as well as entire NPC classes and things like that. So there will definitely be nice rules text for you at the monthly Side Quest Saturdays, and that's only $100 a month from all of you, right? So if we get $101 backers or $10 backers, whatever it is, once there's $100 a month there.
I should stop you right now because congratulations to that one person who, like, we've had issues in the past with people and wanting their names printed or like said out loud. So I'm not going to say the person's name, but we just got our first patron. So hey, that's great. Thank you to that person. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. That's awesome. So we will be sure to get the
character sheet, right?
The character sheet, right? Yeah, that's done. Bam.
Excellent. Goal achieved.
All right, we're done.
Bye, everybody. So $100, you'll get Side Quest Saturdays. That's where all that sort of weekly content will find its way to. Probably what will happen is your weekly Wizardry Wednesday or Lost Lore will be stuff that will later become Side Quest Saturday. So, if you see a lot of lightning spells on Wizardry Wednesday, expect that the end of the month Side Quest Saturday will end up being, some sort of lightning theme. And then we're looking at $200 a month. And these numbers have come from essentially what it costs us to make them, is the math we did. So
yes, this is what it's going to cost us to pay the writer and the artist. This still isn't like the Joe and I now get a paycheck scenario. This is, we call up our writer, we call up our artist, and we say, you do these, you do these. We send you a check, we put them together and send it off to you.
Right.
All these numbers are still just trying to cover the expense of being able to do this monthly content again and bring that back for everyone.
Which is why it's $100 for Side Quest Saturday. It's $200 for Side Quest Saturday 2, Son of Side Quest Saturday.
We had a silly name for it and then decided not to give it that name, and now we don't know what to call that second tier. I don't even remember. What did we get?
So somebody in the chat tell me.
It's Side Quest Saturday 2, but they're 2 I's, I think, is what we landed on. Yep,
okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Side Quest. Nope, that's not funny. All right, moving on. This is how our creative process works.
Side Quest Saturday 2, back in the habit. Side Quest Saturday 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
That's a good one. So at $200, Side Quest Saturday will not be a monthly thing. It'll be a fortnightly thing.
As in 2 weeks, not like the video game where they build boxes and shoot each other.
That's not what I signed up for, Connor.
Oh.
I thought we were going to put all of 2 side 2 quest is what Chad is suggesting, which is really good.
Damn.
Side Quest Saturday.
I'm editing the Patreon. It's happening.
All right. So congratulations.
Congratulations, OC. I don't know how to pronounce
it's
that.
Like ocean.
We got another patron. You again, I'm not saying people's name, but thank you so much for your donation, for joining our Patreon. That's really awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
So we are now at $15. 15, not 15.
Excellent.
That's important.
Those are important numbers. So oh shit, which is ocean, but with a T instead. So I'm going to pronounce it oh shit, which seems bad to me, but what are you going to do? So that's going to be 2 side 2 quest.
I have no idea. I don't know how to pronounce. Can you tell us how to pronounce your name?
Oh, is it OC Eat? Like Orange County Eats? Do you do reviews of Seaside, California eateries? I'm going to assume they do.
Seaside.
So
Quest. It's happened. You have had a remarkable impact on this Patreon because I have just made that the name of it. 2 side 2 quests.
All right. I don't know who just got warned for what.
It was OC for typing a message that got deleted.
But we're moving on. So 2 side 2 quest will get you 2 side quest Saturdays each month. Ideally,
I hope that didn't kick you out. I hope that I don't remember how I set this up. I hope that you're just like
no, he got banned.
You got permabanned?
Yeah. Oh man, I just got a comment. We're Facebook friends. Oh no, I don't know how to do that. How to deal with that?
No, it's Nightbot. I have control of that. Joe, talk, sing a dance. I don't know. I'll fix it.
When you are through. No, instead, what we're going to do is we're going to talk.
No, it didn't ban him. It's a warning, so he can't do it again. Okay.
I think maybe there was a band there because I do. Oh, hey, welcome back. All right, so after two side two quest, um, yes, we know what your. Oh, I actually don't know what your name rhymes with.
Because
I'm
it
not,
got deleted, and I'm not going to start guessing.
and I'm not going to
Because
start
that's when
guessing.
Twitch bans us. I see what you're trying to do to us. I see what's going on.
I activated my old account just to say that the word pun was one of the best things I've seen in a while. Thank you very much. Um,
Which one?
that is a good question and one we don't have a good answer for. Um, but moving on, at 400 a month, if we get those from anybody, you're looking at Theron's Guide to Arden. So instead of two, biweekly, fortnightly, um, like 3 or 4 page things, Theron's Guide will be the weekly content is in Theron's Guide to Arden. It'll be a thematically tied drop. So you're talking about all magic items that relate to, you know, uh, a new bard college, right? Not saying that's an idea we had, but just a concept like that. Here is, and it's all. Connor talked a little bit about sort of the lore of our world,
Hmm?
um, and the idea that Gemhammer is a guy, Gurren Gemhammer, and he's got a couple kids. Theron is one of his kids who's gone off and wants to explore the world and make essentially what amounts to a traveling journalism kind of a thing. And Theron's guide will look at this world and talk about the gods and how they're worshipped, of course, with spells and magic items that are there. So on the sort of lore flavor side, it is a in-universe publication about what is going on in this strange and mystical world these people live in, and sort of on the sort of mechanic crunchy side of it, Theron's Guide is a place where we will drop the kind of things that would be in a Wizardry Wednesday, that would be in a SideQuest Saturday, all in one bigger, thematically appropriate uh, thing. So,
And you'll see that same kind of style in the Grimoire, which we're about to jump into, and we'll do our first giveaway. Where the Grimoire is presented as though it is Gurren Gemhammer's personal spell book that has been heavily edited by his sons so that they can then sell it. It's presented that way, and so there's a lot of like lore stuff happening in the book, but then there's like obvious chunks of this is where the rules of the game happen. And like there's obviously no explanation for that because it's a game book. You'll figure it out.
mhm.
But in the same kind of style that you're about to see, is how Theron's Guide will be presented. There'll be stuff about the world as written by the people behind in the world behind Theron's Guide, and then rules presented in much the same way as you're about to see.
And
But
Theron's
I think
Guide
that's
is something we're
sorry. Go ahead.
very excited to do, right? Theron's Guide is uh, we think of it sort of as a spiritual successor to the sort of magazines that TSR used to put out, um, but with our own sort of flavor and spin on it, and of course for fifth edition, which is what most of our products are made for a little while now. So Connor, what I would suggest is that you take some time with the giveaway. I need
Yeah.
to step off for a second because I am tremendously parched and I've run out of water. So I'm going to be gone for like 4 or 5 minutes. Do you want me to do the "We'll be right back," or do you want to use this page and talk to
Uh,
people?
um.
Let's at least go back here.
Let's jump over to the first page of the Grimoire, and we'll do our first giveaway.
All right.
So, people in the chat, and I see that there are people in the chat because I don't see it because I closed this page. That was dumb of me. Well, here we are. So all of you that are here in the chat, we have two, and if you are not presently entered in to the giveaway, you should do that by typing !Grimoire into the chat right now. It's I just posted it, so like all you gotta do is like copy paste. You'll figure it out. It's easy. But we have these dice that we have been selling at conventions for a number of years now. They are really tiny dice. There's 2 sets of polyhedral dice in these sets. They're in test tubes, and we have like whole racks of them. All right, fine. Don't. You don't have to, man. It's all good. I got you. But we have these tiny dice, and There's 2 sets in each one. Maybe you want a rainbow, maybe you want a purple, all different colors. And we do those at conventions. We haven't had them on our website. They will be going up on our website at the end of the week. We are giving away a set of those and a deck of many things right now, and then also at the end of the stream. So we're going to be giving away a set of dice, and we're going to be giving away a deck of many things. But what you guys get to do right now, it is a surprisingly tricky word to spell. I spelled it wrong dozens of times recently, and I want to be clear that I have probably typed that word way more than anyone else over the last 6 months. But back to what I was saying, we have 2 of our decks of many things here in my hand tonight. Chat, you tell me, are we doing the red deck or the green deck? And let me tell you the difference. The red deck is the deck of many things straight out of your 5th edition or even 3rd edition, because it hasn't changed in 30 years. Right out of your DMG or Ultimate Equipment, this is the version of the deck of many things that you can presently play in your game. This one is themed, because we can't actually make it this way. This one is themed more in line with how things were back during Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This thing is brutal. This thing is more in line with the way the deck was when Gary Gygax did not want you having fun in your game. This kills you, no saving throw. This turns you to stone, no saving throw. This also gives you a silly amount of experience points. And no, we did not go offline. Can you not hear me? Chat, Holly Wally is having an issue. Or maybe we're having an issue. Oh no. Joe, come back. Are we back?
We're back.
We lagged for a bit. Okay, so I don't know where I lost you. We're all good?
Yep.
Great. I don't know where we lost you, but here's the deal. We make several different kinds of decks of many things. We even up until recently had decks of all the things. We have a red deck, which is the one that you're going to find in your book. We get the green deck, which is more like what you used to find in your book 30 years ago. Not exactly, but still. Both usable for 5th edition and 3rd edition. They're a lot of fun. This one's evil, but some people like that. And this one, it's all right. So, chat, which one are we giving away first? Are we doing green or red? Are we doing watermelon or sour apple? You guys tell me. I can do a poll, and I didn't even think to do it that way. But here we are. All right, so we got 2 for green, 1 for red. 2 for green, 1 for red. Is that it? I'm gonna give you guys a couple more seconds if anyone else wants to vote. So it looks like we're going with green. All right, so green and a test tube of your choice. One of the 7 colors of the rainbow, or if you just want a rainbow, we also have those as well. So now I get to press this button, and we find out who the winner is. Osiat, who I still don't know if that's how you pronounce your name, but hey, you won the giveaway. So whichever color you want, and feel free to type that in the chat, and you can message us here or on Twitter or Facebook, however you want to. Osiat, awesome. Woo! You can message us with the information on how we get this to you. Also, what color do you want? Like, you're getting the green deck, but what dice do you want?
Excellent. So,
Joe,
excellent.
You and I are having that mic problem again.
I'm having that mic problem again?
Yep, just do one of those. Red? Joe, talk.
Joe is talking. Joe's
fantastic.
Talking. Connor told him to.
Woo! Excellent. All right. I should have put these in a different box.
So we will get those to you as soon as we can.
I should have put these in a different box, but red. All right. Test tube of red dice and a green deck are going to Osiat, and we will do another one of these at the end of the stream. You can, by the way, the second person can also pick red. That is an option. So there we go. So we're going to talk about the Grimoire a little bit, because we promised that we would go through some of the stuff and talk about the Grimoire and kind of our thoughts behind it, and what the creative process, blah, 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 blah. Anything. If you guys have got questions, we're going to be here talking about this book, so feel free to jump in at any time. But we're going to go through that. But when we're done, we're going to do one more of those for everyone here. So congratulations, Osiat. We'll get these off to you just as soon as you let us know where it's going. And
quit the
we
cussing.
present to you guys. What's that?
And quit the cussing. They're the ones who got the warning earlier.
That's right.
So let's talk about the grimoire, because now we're here. There it is. Or maybe there it is. It's hard to tell.
This way?
Who knows? So
now
the grimoire
I know. Now I know
which way to go. So let's scroll through all of the.
Pardon for the blank pages at the beginning. Those because this is, pardon me, also going to be a printed document. So there's some.
Yeah. So here's our sort of table of contents. What I want is we're about to talk about Gurren Gemhammer and sort of the lore around him and his sons. Mm-hmm. But what I want to hear in the chat is we're going to look at one of the classes and their associated subclasses. So any one of your spellcasting ones, if you want to hear about the bard colleges or the wizard traditions or the druid circles or what have you, throw those in the chat. And paladinos, so ranger archetypes.
It's bards, clerics, druids, paladins, rangers, sorcerers, warlocks, wizards. We also have 5 prestige classes. If someone wants prestige classes,
you know what? Let's do a regular class, whatever you guys in chat want, and then we'll look at a prestige class of our choice. But
also, if there's those of you who probably or may have grimoire because you backed the Kickstarter already, if there's anything in particular in the book you want to talk to us about, feel free to pipe up and let us know. Osiat is saying, I'm playing a monk that is branching into druid right now. Could we take a look at those circles?
All right. So let's first give people a chance to respond to that and talk about Papa Gurren himself.
Yes, Rat King. Oh, Papa Gurren. So majestic. Look
at him. This is the first note. This is actually the first content in the book, and I love it. It is a note from Gurren Gemhammer himself, which is a to whom may concern thing. This was a ton of fun to put together. Gurren Gemhammer, in our idea, is a master artificer, and he knows it. He is
a mad mage, but he is the Tony Stark, the Professor Farnsworth of his world. He is the Elon Musk of the world of Arden, or at least he was.
Right. He is sadly passed, but this was his book with all of the spells that he developed or otherwise acquired over his illustrious history. You see here that he claims that this book is the property of Gurren Gemhammer, heir of the Starkenstones, master architect of the House Starsteel, premier magician, Lord Marshal of the Legion of Wonder, honorable mention recipient at the longest post-nominal title awards held at the end of the Second Age, and founder of Gemhammer & Sons Magic Item Foundry. There's a big note here that you are not supposed to read it unless you are Gurren Gemhammer, one of his clones, a magical construct that he created with his memories, his personality grafted into it, a sentient magic construct made from his life essence, or if you are in fact a Fae who he has given the name Gurren Gemhammer to when he absentmindedly forgot his ironclad rule against giving anything to the Fae, then you need to put down the book immediately because it's cursed and it is just the most wonderful thing here. That link does not take you to Anti-Magic Thimbles. But
did someone in chat ask?
Yes.
You know what? I want you to check out that link. I want you to type in gemhammer.com Anti-Magic Thimbles and see what happens. I'm proud that I thought to do this.
So Gurren's biggest fear in life was, of course, death. He tried his best to become immortal, which led to his death, as many Greek heroes of old. But his second biggest fear was that his
We're
damn
comparing him to Greek heroes now. That's the leap we want to make.
yes, his second greatest
Like
fear,
Theseus.
right? Just like Perseus, he was killed by that which he most feared. He's most worried that his sons would go about selling things like this book or anti-magic thimbles for the purposes of just making a whole bunch of money, which of course is what Connor and I have done. So if you do find this book, if you have a physical copy of one, there are instructions. You should put it in an arcane sending circle and send it back to him. So that would be good. What I the humor in this page is wonderful. If you don't understand or this is your first sort of experience with Gemhammer and Sons, this is what we do. It's always humorous things played straight or not humorous things played goofy, and it's tremendously wonderful. So there's a little bit here about his family, his sons, Huron and Theron, who we talked about a bit. I actually don't know how to pronounce his wife's name because I've only ever seen it written.
Milonwi.
Milonwi. And of course, there's the they set up a magic item shop in the town of Arborstone, which is in Arden, and Theron would love to guide you through all of that. The location, we'll see a picture of it later. It does have ancient stone runes that magically carved into it.
The beginning of this chapter is actually it's if you scroll down a bit, you can see it's actually his will and testament, saying that against his better judgment, he is leaving the Gemhammer Magic Foundry to his sons Huron and Theron, and he does not trust them on any level to be able to do this effectively, and is concerned that they're going to turn his magic foundry into a bunch of magic item stalls selling magical decks or some such nonsense. Right. Which is exactly what Gemhammer and Sons is, both in real life and in our own magical world. So from there, as though it's been hijacked by Huron and Theron, who are editing this book, it proceeds to give an outline of Gemhammer and Sons Magic Item Shop. And here we have the floor plan and also the area descriptions for a magic item shop in Arborstone, in our world of Arden, which is featured in Kingdom of Owlbears, and it is a city built on the ruins of an ancient Fey society, half buried beneath the earth, that people in our world don't really know much about them or understand the purposes of these places and what they're all about. But they've built a town there on top of these ruins, and this is the Gemhammer and Sons location in this town. So you can have your own Gemhammer and Sons in your world. You can go visit the shop with this section. And it proceeds to tell you the magic item shop stock and prices.
Yes.
Not all the magic items in this book are in the Gemhammer and Sons shop, because it doesn't make sense that they'd sell legendary items or singular items or even like weird artifacts and things like that. But all the things that it made sense to have in a magic item shop. You have prices here that make sense.
Yes, unique for 5th edition. We tell you how much stuff is worth in gold pieces.
Yeah, it's not common in 5th edition that anyone tells you how much a magic item is. But we thought maybe we do that. Maybe we tell you how much something costs, considering we're telling you what a store is and how it works.
Right. So if you want to buy the Quill of Forgery, that costs 10,500 gold pieces. No, haggling, no confusion about what's its rarity, and there's a fuzzy edges. That's how much it costs when you walk into Gemhammer and Sons to pick up your own Quill of Forgery. And then we go to the magic items, but we were going to go look at Druid circles, right?
We are. No one else said anything. Although someone, Holly Wally, did not notice Rat King was a prestige class, and Mike wants to be that the rest of his life. So maybe after we look at the Druid circles, we can jump to the Rat King and take a look at that.
Yeah,
that
fine, sounds good.
Gentlemen.
All right, Druid circles. So.
And unlike the version that people got, this is an interactive PDF, so you can click on titles in the table of contents and jump to those sections. And again, if you are a backer, you will be getting that updated version of the Grimoire at the end of next week.
So
it was in the original one, and I didn't realize it was broken. So that's why it is what it is right now. But we're getting it fixed. Promise, you'll get it very soon.
Yeah. So all of the subclasses and things start with these little comments from Gurren. I actually think most of the sections start with little comments from Gurren.
They all
Uh,
do. Yep.
and this one, as my wife hails from a long line of druidesses, I feel compelled not to say anything rude about these ridiculous trig huggers and their unrefined skills with the more primal magics. Um, and he talks about the two different groups there is. And let's just, Connor, these were your babies. So you want to talk us
Yep.
through the circle of companionship?
Yep. The first character that I played for a very long time was a druid, and one of the things that I thought was very strange in fifth edition, because that was the first time I experienced playing a druid, was they don't have familiars. They don't have animal companions. So like you can't even take familiar, like, which would make sense to put that on the druid list, if only so that they could have an animal companion. Animal companions are virtually missing from 5e, except for the ranger, and it's even in its updated form is not very powerful. So I was thinking about, I want a druid that who is built entirely around their animal companion, but I want it to be more magical. I don't want it to be just Beastmaster, but the druid. So the idea behind the circle of companionship is you have this bond with this familiar, but it's a more powerful version of a familiar, and you can do very different things. You can alter that familiar in certain ways. Your wild shapes are now connected to its form. Its form is connected to your wild shape. Very late in the progression of this circle, you can get a second familiar, and then the last feature in it is actually those two familiars. Since a familiar in 5e, as defined, is a spirit of some kind that is taking the form of this thing, these spirits can come together. Like if you, like hypothetically, if you had a red lion familiar and a blue lion familiar, they could form together and become a more awesome, more powerful version of this. And I'll form the head. And that's Gestalt familiar, and so you gain a more powerful familiar. You gain extra familiars. They have more powerful forms. You specifically don't get anything particularly amazing in this. Like, you can now take the form of your familiar, which gets you access to a higher CR familiar than you would if you weren't a Circle of the Moon druid. But otherwise, like, most of what you're doing is going to be built around teamwork with your new familiars. And that was kind of the idea behind this. Let's say, asking, I'm starting to seriously homebrew content. I'm curious how you playtest this. How do you decide on power level? How many tests do you run? We typically start off with just running the numbers. There's a pretty good balance of like at what level something a spell does. So in the DMG, there is actually at this level, this spell or these kinds of spells will do this much, and these magic items will have this bonus. When we actually sit down and do the math, do these equate to those numbers? Are we roughly within rounding error in the same territory? So that's where we would start. From there,
And always,
we
and
would
also, I would say the question that we always ask ourselves is, if this existed in the game, would you? Does this superannuate? Does this completely replace something else?
That's
Right.
right.
So when Circle of Companionship, when Connor pitched this to me, we needed to make sure that it wasn't just Beastmaster Ranger, but better.
Yeah.
Right. There
We also
to
needed to
be
make sure that it wasn't just better wild shapes, because
right.
you're connected to the wild shape of your familiar now. So it can't just be screw Moon Druid. I'm never going to take that, obviously, because now I can turn into whatever my familiar can turn into, and look at all the things my familiar can turn into.
So making sure that it is roughly on the same power level as things that already exist is very good, as is the idea of making sure that it is within, a few percentage points, a standard deviation up or down of the other sort of spells that exist. We have a huge spreadsheet of what is the most powerful, what is the most damage you can do for every spell at every level, which is tremendously helpful. Um, and if only you were a close personal friend of mine, then I could share that with you. But unfortunately, it's just Ian. So maybe we'll talk about it.
Um, the another thing we do is, I mean, we do play test, and that's what I think a lot of the stuff that we feel needs a very deep dive on, like what is it? Raise All Dead is an epic spell in the Grimoire, and that Joe worked into our campaign that we play with the Dudes, Guys, and Dragons to see how this works. Also, once a year, we take a trip out to CarnageCon in Vermont, and a lot of the stuff that we have ready for playtesting at that point, we will bring with us, and we'll do that at some shows throughout the year to kind of like drop it in front of people and go, what happens, and let them play with it for the weekend and then get some feedback. But a lot of the playtesting we're doing is in-house, and we always start off with kind of the numbers and does it make sense? But then also, is it fun? Like there was one thing that I pitched to Joe recently. Actually, no, it was for the Grimoire, and it like created a situation where you were summoning these creatures, but it wasn't fun anymore, because if you summon one of these creatures, they're very powerful, and you don't have that agency now. You're not playing as that creature. It's now the DM is now playing against himself. If you end up in a combat situation where you've summoned this thing, now the DM is playing against themselves, and everyone is just kind of watching it happen. And I don't think that's particularly fun, even though that can happen with like a lot of like animal summoning with a druid. If you have this very powerful thing that you can summon, it can kind of be a little game breaky, and now it's just watching two non-players play the game.
Two giant spiders duke it out, and the webs high above as nobody else can participate because they don't walk on webs. Excuse me. So let's look at the other druid circle, the Circle of the Deep.
Circle of the Deep. I didn't feel that there was any druid that really fit with water. You don't get like the ability to turn into swimming shapes until much later. Moon Druid kind of solves some of the other shapes that you don't gain access to until much later. But like water is just kind of an outlier. And there's an Aquaman cleric, basically. That's a thing. But I think that Druid could just as easily work with that. And I don't think that there's enough content out there for underwater campaigns, especially when we consider how many like spells or items involve water breathing or being underwater, or the number of races there are that deal with living underwater or come from underwater. So this was just something that also Joe loves Aquaman, so I felt that was
that's true. I have an Aquaman tattoo.
I just knew that he'd say yes once I'm pitching him a druid. That's Aquaman. But all the features that you get are basically, you now have adaptations that allow you to breathe in underwater, and you get a swim speed, and your wild shapes are now they're sea creatures, so you can gain access to that much sooner, or even at all, than you would be able to otherwise.
So those are our two druid circles, so those are super awesome. Let's move up and see if we can get back to the table of contents, which is around here somewhere. And we want to look at Rat King, which is one of our prestige classes. I also think this is your baby.
Yes, it is. Rat King started off as the idea was a Pied Piper. This was going to be a rogue animal companion bard, which it still is. But we dropped the name Pied Piper because you did see Muscle Wizard, and we can also look at Claromancer, which is the only prestige class we have that has a subclass. So we will talk about that in a minute. But so Rat King is it's got a lot of features of a you know what, I don't want to say a druid or a ranger, but you have animal companions in the sense that you have a swarm as an animal companion. You gain a rat swarm, which you can see on screen right now. At first level, you gain a swarm of rats that are fiercely loyal to you and follow your commands. Add your proficiency bonus to the swarm's attack and damage rolls, etc., etc. So you have this swarm of rats that's just around you, and they love you, and they're your companions. And you actually, all of the features of this prestige class involve your swarm songs. And what you do is you play these songs that make them more powerful. So you have this swarm that you improve them with your songs. And then as time goes on, your swarm gets more powerful because of features. Your song gets more powerful. And then they can actually envelop you into the swarm. And that's when you become a true rat king. And you are just wearing a cloak of rats, as you can see here in the grimoire.
And just a little bit on prestige classes for those of you who are sort of, fifth edition is your first edition. Prestige classes are classes you can take once you hit other prerequisites. For instance, for Rat King, the prereqs are you need to have proficiency in nature, obviously, because you're going to be working with rats.
I do believe. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I do believe that they become magical attacks. The rat swarm gains magical attacks. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that was in some. At one point, they did them. I don't remember if we kept that. There's a lot in here, but I believe so.
Proficiency in performance, because you are going to be playing these songs, and also you need to be able to conjure these rats. So conjure animals is also a requirement. But once you hit those three requirements, instead of taking your, let's say your level 5 bard, right? Instead of taking a 6th level in bard, you could take a 1st level in rat king, and then start working towards that. What else did we want to look at? We wanted to look at Claromancer.
Yep. Claromancy, in case people don't know, that is a fancy word that means you read the future with dice or cards, or really it's lots, is how it's defined. So like throwing sticks on the ground, or runes, or bones, or you're throwing something on the ground and you're reading the future by how they fall and what they do. And so we made 2 versions of that class. So, and that turned into, because we couldn't decide if we wanted cards or dice, but since we kind of do both, it made sense that we did both. So we gave this one a subclass, which prestige classes don't normally have, but we get to do whatever we want because we made it. So we did.
So your prereqs here, a high intelligence and a high wisdom. High here defined as 13 or higher, which is perfectly reasonable, as well as proficiency in arcana and religion, being able to cast a 2nd level divination spell, as well as being a 5th level character. But there's also the complete a special task. Claromancy is a secret sort of art. It is a secret kind of magic, and it is not common that a Claromancer will teach someone else to be a Claromancer unless they have sort of proved themselves. And your DM and GM can work with those, which is fine. And then, of course, become attuned to the magic of the cards or the dice.
Which is called your divine lot, because that's the lot that you are.
Yeah, there are the 2 different kinds of, like we were saying. The first is astrogalomancy.
Astrogalomancy, and then cartomancy.
Astrogalomancy is your dice. So, for instance, you have this table where you roll 4d6. Is it 46? Yeah.
It is 46.
Yeah. And, the first one tells you who it affects. The second one tells you what the effect is, over what circumstances, and then some other third effect happens here. And these happen sort of randomly, as you can read the bones as an action to do that thing. And the second one is cartomancy, which is drawing cards. We're talking about actual factual playing cards.
And to answer a question that we did get from the Kickstarter, we are not going to sell you a deck of regular playing cards to do this. The question was, do you make the cards? No, they're regular playing cards. I promise.
Bicycle makes them. Buy one at the CVS.
Right. By the time I get around to making a regular set of playing cards, you will have already procured one, I promise.
Right. So on this casting card effect table, I happen to have a deck of bicycle playing cards right next to me.
Yep.
So I'm just going to shuffle those up and see what effect we have. Because
And the target is determined by the suit, and then the effect is determined by the number or face value of the
all
card.
right. The rank is what those are called. I found that out very
Really?
recently. Yeah, cards have
Interesting.
suit and rank. This is a 6 of spades, which means that my weapons deal an extra 1d6 psychic damage for the remainder of the spell. But there are, of course, bad things here too. I could suffer 2 points of exhaustion, or hey, enemies within 20 feet of me could do an extra 1d6 psychic damage. So there's very much of that sort of randomness that we were talking about with the Deck of Wonder, sort of tied in to cartomancy. And there's the
We're being asked when you could use divine intervention, divination intervention, and how often you could use it. Being at 5th level, the gods may choose to intervene in your casting of lots. Make a roll or draw 3 cards. If all 3 dice come up as 12 or 3 aces are drawn, you may make a wish as per wish. You can just do that, but again, you have to draw 3 aces or roll 3 12s on 3d12s.
You know what? Just thinking about this, I'm not super in love with you being able to, like, because if this were true, wouldn't every astrologomancer, I can't pronounce that word, just spend their time rolling 3d12 until
That's
it
a good
worked?
point. Well, you know what, chat, you have just seen a decision in action. We are going to, because that's been pointed out to us, and Joe's thought about it. We are going to add you can do this once, some number per day. Some number per day. It's
So hey, if
based on their proficiency modifier.
Yeah. So wisdom modifier maybe. Who knows? We'll figure out what the right
Proficiency
number is.
score, not modifier. Yep. Some number will determine. Thank you for that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, that is pretty great. We had a request for Muscle Wizard, right?
We did have a request from Muscle Wizard.
Let's see. We'll buy the Chronomancer and the Anti-Magic Scion. Muscle Wizard. Muscle Wizard is just a kind of a wizard.
Yep.
Let me read what Gurren has to say about them. As soon as it lets me. Wizards. Now, here's a group of magic users I can respect. Prodigious students of arcane, dedicated to mastering their magical skills through learning and hard work. Unfortunately, they cannot be trusted. It is clear to me that they only want to get their hands on my grimoire and use their magic for their own. I cannot allow this, so I make a point not to get involved with them. However, there are 2 groups of wizards who Gurren has determined pose no threat to him. The Nomomancers are too concerned with upholding the law, while the Muscle Wizards are off eating paste or some such nonsense. I don't remember that at all.
And you will notice throughout this book there is a lot of references that Gurren makes to magical secrets and protecting them, which is made only more hilarious by the section where it is very clearly pages from someone else's spellbook taped into his grimoire.
More comments on the Muscle Wizard specifically from Gurren. The tradition of the Muscle Wizards are best described by the advertisement they publish in local papers and have criers shout in the street. Behold, the might, the majesty, the truest form of physical and intellectual excellence. Muscle Wizards combine the body and mind into an arcade powerhouse of Herculean
force.
When all else fails, cast fist. Evidently, punching with magic counts as wizardry these days. Then Theron and Heron have a little comment here. By reading this grimoire, you absolve Gemhammer and Sons of liability from any potential side effects of casting Fist. Yes, one of the over 100 spells in this book is called Fist. It has a range of touch.
There's it might not be. What's the one that has bulking powder as a component?
I don't remember which one. Oh, it's Massive Swole, maybe?
It might be Massive Swole.
It might also
Grappling
be
Swole.
Wall of
Grappling
Physique.
Swole. No, it's not Grappling Swole. Is it Wall? No, it might be Flex.
Oh, it might be Flex.
Yeah, there's a bunch of spells that were designed with
muscle wizards in
muscle
mind.
wizards in mind. Let me hit you with this. So Flex is a second level transmutation spell. Its range is self, and its components include a material component, a fistful of bulking powder, which you consume.
So this gives you proficiency in unarmed strikes. At second level, when you hit with an unarmed strike, you can use a spell slot to deal extra bludgeoning damage equal to the spell slot dropped. At sixth level, your unarmed strikes are magical, and at 10th level, while you're wearing no armor and not wearing a shield, your AC is 10 plus your dex plus your intelligence. So this is much more of the kind of wizard that can get in there and mess shit up. Also, I think it's funny, right? That is
Yes.
Muscle Wizard
That's
is
been a running joke for years now, but I don't think anyone's ever built one effectively.
And I actually got some comments from some people who had seen it, who have already had the grimoire, who were like, "Man, how do I make like the uh, the mechanically optimized muscle wizard? This is so cool." And it's like, I don't know, man. Just play a paladin. If you want this to be optimized, you probably don't want to be playing a muscle wizard. But at
The
14th level,
intention is for you to have very high strength, very high intelligence, and good
and
luck.
yeah, have
Godspeed.
fun.
Figure it
Um,
out.
the starting at 14th level, you can add your strength modifier to damage of spell attacks made with touch. So if you are going to cast, shocking grasp to someone, you also punch them while you grasp and shock. Is that all we've got for them? And I know there's some magic players here. So the other wizard tradition is nomomancy, which are the Azorius. They're all about making and setting laws and rules and that it is a kind of magic user that I wish had existed. Like, there's no real good way to play like a member of the Azoria Senate from Ravnica. So I made one. Obviously, it doesn't feel like you're playing Dovin Bond, but it does feel like you are. You don't just enforce the rules; you also make them. Um, what did Gurren have to say about Nomomancers? Nomomancy is this isn't actually from Gurren, or it wasn't sort of written. Uh,
No, this one was written as just like an explanation of what they were.
yes, just an explanation of Nomomancy. They use there to set rules and what have you, including at 14th level when you make a rule, you can break it if you want. Up to you. And there's also a Nomomancy spell list. So just like you would take divination as your arcane school, you could take nomomancy, and there's a whole list as to what counts as a nomomantic thing. But it's the things you'd expect: a hold person and that kind of thing. And hey, they have a bad habit of filing paperwork every time they cast a spell. Rumor is that they have a small faction dedicated to managing the magic of bureaucromancy. Expect that soon from Theron's Guide rather, because I think it's funny. All right, Connor. Anything else you wanted to specifically show from here?
No, I guess we'll leave the chat to see what they want. I just saw that in chat. Banhammer just happened.
Yeah, I think your Banhammer is a little too like we make the deck of wonder after dark. Is all I'm saying.
That's a good point. I apologize to whoever had a bunch of stuff. 7 messages deleted.
Yeah.
But if you guys, if there's anything else you guys want to look at, I keep trying to scroll on the video of this document because I have them open on the same screen.
Oh man, when I watch people stream Arena, the number of times I like a mouse over someone else's card because on Arena that makes it big enough that I can read it.
So if there's anything anyone wants to take a look at, we have mana, which is something we added into the game. It's not something that is normally in D&D. We have some more subclasses here. We can go over some of the spells if you guys want. We can take a look at some magic items. There's about 100 in here. We can look at epic spell casting, advanced familiars, maybe even some of the feats and the feat trees that we've put in this.
Let's do epic spellcasting. I think that'll be fun.
Okay.
Where is that?
Down there? It's under spells.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, we got asked about mana and magic items.
All right, so let's start with mana.
Okay.
Um, so in the world, the fifth edition does not explain where magic comes from at all. It just sort of exists. It used to come from a place, but it doesn't anymore. We have decided that here in Arden, it comes from these sites of mana. Um,
And
and
mana
it
is a
just
substance. It is an energy. It's a field that binds the. No, that's something
no,
else.
you're thinking of something else.
I had something else, but it is this energy, this substance that permeates the world, and it is what gives people the ability to have magic.
To answer how Gurren would answer that, what is mana? While magic is often studied by scholars and mages alike, the focus often tends to be specific spells and techniques. Rarely do they look for the study of it as a force in the world. Mana can be found naturally in the environment and exists in almost all living creatures to a greater or lesser degree. And at a certain point, when there's enough of it, there could be mana sites. Do we have a nice picture of a mana site? Here's one. Um, and the mana sites are it's like the weave that doesn't exist anymore in fifth edition, unfortunately.
What's that?
Yeah, but without the weave, we have mana. Mana exists everywhere, but it can be concentrated in these places. There are 9 colors of mana.
No, that's not right. No, it is. I should know this.
The weave is in the PHP. Where?
If it is, I don't care. Ours is better.
Ours is better. It might be in the DMG. But it hasn't been errated away.
10.
There are 10, and they are associated with the damage types. So unlike when you hear me talk about magic and mana, it's easy to think like the 5 colors of
11
mana.
messages regulated. What happened? I apologize for whatever spam protection is keeping us from, like, I feel like people aren't just spamming horrible words.
Yeah.
It could be excessive caps, links, excessive symbol. That's what it probably is. Here, let me turn those on. I apologize.
Yeah. So instead of being associated with a specific kind of magic, right, there isn't a necromancy color of magic. Instead, they are associated with the damage types.
All right, Chad, you can jump back in now.
Red mana comes from volcanoes. It enhances fire damage, and is here's a nice picture of the kind of place where there's a mana site. Connor, did you want to talk briefly about mana beasts and mana guardians?
Yes. So the idea behind it was that if there's this much concentrated mana in any one location. I apologize to everyone. I accidentally just wiped clean the giveaways when I went to click on chat. Can everyone that wants to be part of the last giveaway that we're going to do, please do the thing. Julie, do the thing. And yep, I know what I'm doing. So if you exclamation point Grimoire, you will get put back into the giveaway. So please do that. Otherwise, I will pick someone at random when that happens. But so mana beasts and mana guardians, the idea behind that was that if there's enough of this concentrated mana in an environment, it would start to affect the living creatures in that environment. And then over time, that would give rise to almost these lesser deities, these spiritual creatures that have formed from the life force of those creatures. So, for example, on the page I'm on is for the red mana site, and pyre pigs are the mana beasts. So as magic infected these boars and turned them into these flaming beasts, over time their life force has given rise to this lesser deity, Hogma the Conflagrant. And we have given you the mana beasts in the stat block section of the Grimoire. We have not given you the Mana Guardians, nor have we given you the full details of the Mana Sites. These are more like story hooks that you can kind of put into your world. We've given you these creatures to play with. We gave you a template, which isn't exactly to how we built these creatures. You will notice some differences, but a template that you could apply to another beast if you wanted something like this, but not necessarily this in your world. But the idea behind is that we plan on actually fleshing all of these out as full 32-page adventures. We've actually already approached some writers about having those made. Which we had kind of put on hold a little bit because of some of the troubles we've experienced with COVID, but we are getting ready to restart that project. So these creatures they're like lesser deities. You will probably never see full stat blocks for them because we kind of feel that deities don't get stat blocks. We know that that is not common in 5th edition, but that is absolutely something that we feel is important. So there will be more elaborate versions of these creatures or spiritual, godly versions of them in those adventures that are controlling the flow of the mana in these areas and would allow you to attune to this place, provided you appeased them. And once you've done that, you would now have access to the significant amount of mana, concentrated mana in this one location that you could use to potentially create mana potions of your own or gain the ability to create mana potions of your own, which is primarily done mechanically through feats. But you do need to be able to brew potions. So in the feats section, there's the outline of how those work and how you can grow in brewing more and more of these potions. But here is just generally what those mana potions do. Now, and we have a disclaimer that maybe mana potions are more common in your world. In ours, mana, while being the source of all magic, mana potions are pretty rare. Like, not a lot of people have access to mana channeling. Not too many people can use those abilities or even really know where mana sites are in the world. They could be everywhere, all over the place, but people just don't know about it generally or aren't interested in it. So but if you want them to be common in your world, we have the item descriptions here. This is a common potion. This is a very rare potion. And they come in 2 different flavors. They're clarified and unclarified or impure mana potions. And the clarified potions have had the elemental flavor of that mana removed. So it is just purely you are receiving mana points that you can convert into spell slots. You still need to be able to cast spells, obviously, like a fighter that drinks this thing has spell points. But what do you do with them if you don't know how to cast a spell? You just have magic now. Sorry,
and the impure mana all have sort of a negative, or I wouldn't necessarily say negative, but they have another effect.
Yes.
Not only is it a mana potion, but also, for instance, green is the color of mana associated with the forests and acid. And you take 1d8 acid damage every minute. When you drink it, you get covered, or acid actually seeps from your skin.
Yeah. So you can't just wipe it off because you're seeping with this acid now. That's not a lot of damage at higher levels. Granted.
Yeah. And you're taking 1d8 acid damage, and any creature that you touch is also taking 1d8 acid damage, and they're taking it per round, and you're taking it per minute. So it's easy to, win on that if you just care mechanically about that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, of course, mana addiction.
You can't get addicted to this substance, whereas mana beasts have been exposed to this amount of mana naturally over time and adapted to it. If you were just pumping yourself full of these potions, you will eventually fail the checks that we force you to take by using these. And obviously you can choose to leave this out in your world. But the idea of becoming addicted to mana and the rules for how that works and curing the addiction are all provided in the Grimoire. And we also have a substance called anti-mana, but we will talk about that another time.
Yeah, anti-mana, anti-magic, all of that's in here. Unfortunately, our time is running out. So this is going to be your last call to put the exclamation Grimoire to be eligible for the giveaway. Connor, what is our last giveaway?
Our last giveaway is going to be the red deck of many things and a and a test tube dice set of your choice. You get to choose one of the 7 colors of the rainbow or a rainbow set, which has fallen to the bottom of the box and spilled open. So unfortunately, I can't show that to you without jumping off stream. But all of the colors are represented, and you will get one of these tubes, your choice, and a deck of many things. So anyone that wants to be part of that last giveaway, please, type exclamation Grimoire in the stream. And Joe and I have talked about doing more of these. We have we want to be interacting with people a lot more. So I think we're going to do a lot more of these kinds of, talking about what we're working on with everyone, and maybe doing a giveaway now and again. We're not going to give away literally all of our stock, but we'll definitely be coming online and talking to you guys a lot more.
I didn't buy this baseball jersey to not wear it, and without conventions, we got to go. Good point.
Yep.
All right. So Connor, I think we're ready to do that giveaway.
Yes, we are. So, last call. Holly Wally Doodle of a Day. You have won the giveaway. Let us know.
And they were super excited. So excited that even the weaker Fightbot has decided to be mean to them. So anyway,
so get in contact with us, OCAT, you as well, and let us know where these are going. We will let us know what color you want, and you are obviously getting the red deck, OCAT's getting the green deck, and we will get these to their intended destination. Just let us know how they're getting there. Thank you all so much for sticking it out. I'm surprised at how many people are actually on chat right now. There's
we're doing well.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 13 people in here. That's last time we did this, there were 2. So hey, that's something. But thank you guys so much. Thank you to the 2 people that backed our Patreon. We really appreciate it. This is something we want to be doing a lot more. We want to be making this more better game stuff, as we say, and doing really cool, fun stuff, and making Gemhammer into something a little more real. I almost did the voice.
I don't know what voice you're talking about, Connor.
Yes, you do.
Do you mind demonstrating?
No, I don't. I'm all set.
But I have all these Republic credits. Can I give those to you?
A lot of people don't like the prequels.
I think the prequels have the general consensus on the prequels has improved.
Just hit me up on Discord after this. Oh man, do I know you on Discord?
You said that this was an old account. Do we know who you are? I don't.
Question marks. Oh, I've received. Oh no, this is someone that's noticed an error.
Excellent.
So I will. So people, hello from the machine. It genuinely isn't helping. Hello from the machine. This is not helping. Anyway, get in touch with us. However, you guys get in touch with us. We are message us on Twitter, shoot us a tweet, scribe at gemhammer.com. You can also go to gemhammer.com, and our contact information is there. And you guys can. Oh wait.
What are we waiting
okay. For? All right. No. I figured it out. I know who they are now. Fantastic.
Excellent.
So yeah, give us a shout if you won, and we want to know where your stuff is going. And from there, we will figure all that out. Thank you all for sticking it out and listening to our spiel, and for commenting on the Grimoire, and helping us make a couple of last-minute decisions about it, and having a great time. We really appreciate you guys being on here with us tonight, and we'll do this again soon.
All right. Thanks a bunch, everyone. And maybe later Connor will tell us his wonderful recipe for corn muffins, but that will be on the next chat.
No, we're not.
Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Not a cooking show.
Okay, we are no longer streaming.
Fantastic.
We are still being recorded, so keep that in mind.
Well, we should. Oh, but if we stop that, we won't be able to talk anymore?
Oh, we'd absolutely be able to talk.